We begin with breaking news from the Middle East. Officials in Egypt say the huge container ship that had been wedged across the Suez Canal for nearly a week has started to move. The Canal Authority has been working to move the Japanese-owned vessel Ever Given. That could pave the way for marine traffic to resume along the vital trade route between Asia and Europe. More than 360 ships have been waiting to pass through the canal. The traffic jam has further disrupted global supply chains during a time of coronavirus restrictions and is costing the canal around $14 million a day. Moving to Japan, where a number of cities are seeing another spike in coronavirus cases, and local leaders are targeting nightlife to contain the outbreaks. The Tokyo metropolitan government reported more than 200 new cases on Monday. It's the 10th straight day that daily figures have surpassed those from a week earlier. A state of emergency was lifted in the capital last week. That allowed some university students to finally mark the start of their university studies at an entrance ceremony.
I couldn't come to campus for a year. It's my first time here since I took the entrance exam.
I'm a sophomore, but I feel like things just started.
Meanwhile, the metropolitan government has issued a notice urging a court to impose fines on 4 local restaurants. It says they failed to follow orders to shorten their business hours. It's the first time local officials have taken that step. The situation is more urgent in the western prefecture of Osaka.
The growing number of untraceable cases suggests that Osaka is at the start of an outbreak from community transmission. We believe this will be the 4th wave of infections.
Governor Yoshimura says he'll ask the central government for the authority to implement stronger measures, but without declaring a state of emergency. Those measures could include fines for businesses that refuse to close early. Chief Cabinet Secretary Kato Katsunobu suggested the Suga administration would consider the request. In the southern prefecture of Okinawa, the local government is also asking bars and restaurants to close by 9 p.m. to contain rising infections there.
We are seeing a rapid surge in cases. In order to enjoy the upcoming holiday season in a cheerful atmosphere, let's work together to contain the infections.
Across the country, more than 1,300 new infections were confirmed on Monday. The overall national tally now stands at over 470,000. More than 9,100 people have died since the pandemic began. We now turn to Brazil, where the number of daily coronavirus cases has been rising since last month, leaving the country's medical system near collapse. Data compiled by Johns Hopkins University in the United States show Brazil's daily average at over 90,000 cases as of Saturday. The country also has the highest number of daily deaths in the world. Friday's total was over 3,600. A local research institute says more than 90% of hospital intensive care units are occupied in more than half of the country's states and the capital, Brasilia. President Jair Bolsonaro has been reluctant to implement measures against the pandemic nationwide. He's instead prioritized maintaining economic activity. Some states have introduced their own preventive measures, but not all residents are fully observing them. Experts estimate that Brazil's death toll will reach 500,000 in July and could eventually top that of the United States. Around the world, more than 127 million cases have been confirmed and over 2.7 million people have died. The organizers of the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics say they'll resume test events in the run-up to the Summer Games, which were postponed due to the pandemic. They say they're seeking the participation of foreign athletes in 5 of the events. A total of 18 test events will be held from April through May. Strict anti-coronavirus measures will be taken, including limiting the movement of foreign athletes. Spectators will also be allowed at some of the events to study ways to ensure safety.
We have only limited numbers of events with spectators. We want to make the best use of these test events, especially those held at the Olympic Stadium, and share what we learn among all the events.
For starters, the wheelchair rugby event will kick off on Saturday. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government has opened the first section of a road that's part of its initiative to fireproof neighborhoods packed with wooden houses. Experts say there's a 70% likelihood that a massive quake will occur directly beneath Tokyo within 30 years. The 1.1 kilometer section in Adachi Ward opened on Monday. The Metropolitan Government purchased land to construct the 20-meter wide road. Officials say it can be used for evacuation and firefighting operations in case of a major fire.
This neighborhood used to have maze-like narrow alleys. The new road helps make the community more disaster resistant.
The Tokyo government has been working to expand roads in neighborhoods with high concentrations of wooden houses to prevent fires from spreading. The initiative covers 28 sections, totaling 25 kilometers in length. Officials aim to complete the construction by fiscal 2025. Turning to Myanmar, where people are mourning after the country's deadliest day since the military coup in February. A local human rights group says 114 people were killed on Saturday. A large crowd gathered at a funeral for a 13-year-old boy on Sunday. They paid their respects with the three-fingered salute symbolizing resistance to the coup. Local media reported the boy was playing near his home in Yangon when he was shot by security forces. The Assistance Association for Political Prisoners says more than 450 people have been killed in the violence since the military takeover. An ethnic organization in southeastern Karen state says more than 3,000 people have begun fleeing toward neighboring Thailand due to military airstrikes. State-run TV had reported on Sunday night that a militant force attacked a military post on Saturday. It was seen as an admission that the attack was carried out by an ethnic Karen armed group. The UN Special Advisor on Preventing Genocide and the UN Human Rights Chief said the international community has a responsibility to protect the people of Myanmar. They condemned the security forces' actions as cowardly and brutal. The U.S. government is working on a plan to slap additional sanctions on Myanmar.
It's terrible. It's absolutely outrageous. And based on the reporting I've gotten, an awful lot of people have been killed totally unnecessarily.
Defense chiefs from 12 countries, including the U.S., the U.K., and Japan, said in a statement that a professional military is responsible for protecting, not harming, the people it serves. The area where the military conducted airstrikes is controlled by the Karen ethnic group. NHK spoke to an official of the Karen National Union, which has a large armed wing. Padosa Tawni said air raids were carried out over 3 days and caused casualties.
We confirmed only the other day that on the 27 nights, only 8 people wounded and 3 killed. Three were killed, yes. All are civilians, yes. The current military camps also along the border, very close to the people who are staying in there. So they fear and then they move away from their places.
Padosa Tawni said the group is not considering retaliation for the airstrikes, but he said it'll protect the people and stand with them until the military dictatorship is toppled.
We strongly against it, and at the same time, so we strongly support the people who are trying to get their rights and the demonstration.
He also said if ethnic armed groups could unite and form a federal army, they could mount opposition to the Myanmar military. But he said that might take time. Unusually warm weather is spreading across Europe. Our meteorologist Jonathan Oh has a look at the forecast in World Weather.
Hello, it looks like that we're going to be talking about warm weather for a good portion of Europe as we go throughout the next few days. We are seeing plenty of warm air coming in from the south. A low pressure system also helping to usher in the southerly flow. A little bit more active toward the north as we do have a cold front and also a couple areas of low pressure rolling through. So you're going to be dealing with a little bit more in terms of activity as we go through Monday. But high pressure, really the dominant force across most of Europe. So this indicator of the model forecast showing us that warm air surging in from the west and continuing to push toward the east. So be prepared for highs in the 20s in a lot of locations, especially for the western areas of Europe, from Paris into Vienna, Berlin at 21 on Tuesday, near 30 in Lisbon. Though we do have the clouds and rain moving in toward the north. So Moscow looking at rain, Stockholm looking at high of 14 as we go through the day. Meanwhile, across the northern areas of China, we have been dealing with some yellow sand that's now pushing toward the east. Here's a look at some video coming out from the region. China's meteorological agency continued a yellow alert for sandstorms Sunday, advising people to take precautions against strong winds and yellow sand, with drivers being advised to be careful due to poor visibility. Some of the visibility dropping to around 1,000 meters in Beijing. Now, fortunately, traffic in China was not disrupted as all highways and roads were reportedly open and running smoothly. But a couple of weeks ago, northern China was also dealing with some of this yellow sand as well that really caused the scene to be a lot darker and a little bit hazier. Now, high pressure will be ushering in some of this flow from the west. And so as it does so, as we go from Monday night into Tuesday night, we're going to have a concentration of that yellow sand. All these areas colored in yellow to orange. Notice it's covering the Korean Peninsula and also into Japan. A good portion of northern and western Japan dealing with some concentration of yellow sand as we go through the next 24 hours. Tokyo, though, remain clear. Partly cloudy skies, high of 22 on Tuesday. Hope you have a good day wherever you are.
Opening arguments will begin in the trial of Derek Chauvin. He faces murder and manslaughter charges for his role in the death of George Floyd, whose killing sparked protests in the US and around the world. The vast container ship that's been blocking the Suez Canal for a week has been partially refloated but yet to be fully freed. The Ever Given has been causing a traffic jam on one of the world's busiest trade routes. The French pharmaceutical firm Servier has been found guilty of aggravated deception and involuntary manslaughter over a drug blamed for one of France's worst health scandals. It sold Mediator, a diabetes and weight loss pill, despite repeated warnings about side effects. The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has demoted 2 cabinet ministers. Defence Minister Linda Reynolds and Attorney General Christian Porter had been involved in separate scandals relating to rape investigations.